Mr. Speaker, I'm rising to speak against Senate Bill 754, which does hit the private sector very severely.
Please proceed in opposition.
Yes, in opposition, very much in opposition. Mr. Speaker, I'm talking about the subcontractor deduction that had been in place because if that deduction had not been in place, contractors would have had an untold pyramiding tax to have to pay. Well, Senate Bill 754 now does that to the contractors in our state. And the problem is, Mr. Speaker, that we look at that industry, the building industry, as one of the engines, economic engines in this state to help pull us out of our depression. Now we've done something that is going to just slow them down and make it very difficult for them. The building industry of Hawaii made some comments, and some of you have these because I handed them out to you. And they're talking about how this Senate bill suspends the deduction for payments to subcontractors from the calculation of the general excise tax liability of contractors. This now results in a pyramiding of the general excise tax paid on all construction projects. For most contractors, the subcontractor deduction runs between 60% to 80% of the total monies received, so that under the current law, general contractors generally pay general excise tax on 20% to 40% of funds received from the owners, so they don't have that pyramiding effect. Now, the Senate bill increases the general excise tax liability of general contractors by 300 to 400%. Listen to that. I mean, that's just unconscionable. The larger the project, generally the higher percentage of funds are paid to subcontractors. Some lawmakers have been told, and in fact, I have a colleague within this body that has said what I'm going to tell you now. The increase in taxation can be avoided if subcontractors bill owners directly. Well, that's really questionable tactics. We pass a bill to put more money into the state's coffers and then say, hey, wait a minute, the contractors don't have to follow it. Here's a cutesy way of getting around this provision. First, if this is true, goes the BIA, this is a strong argument to not suspend the deduction, as it would generate no additional revenue. Second, at best, such a tactic would effectively make the construction contract a cost-plus contract, which would dramatically shift the risk of cost overruns and defective workmanship to the owners, making it highly unlikely that such an arrangement would be adopted. In other words, is an owner going to go along with this scheme to avoid paying pyramided taxes? Then it goes BIA. At worst, this tactic could be interpreted as a form of tax evasion, depending on how the arrangement is structured. So what we're doing is passing a bill that some members in this body say, gee, you can evade paying it. So go ahead and evade these taxes. That's really questionable, Mr. Speaker. BIA goes on, general contractors play a key role in managing project quality and controlling costs. To say that subcontractors could simply bill the owners directly ignores this basic fact of the construction industry. Most projects require bonding by the general contractors. Thus, it would be improbable to contract with the subs directly. So we're taking a step today in passing this bill to hit one of the most important industries in our state with the 300 to 400% increase in taxes. And then some among this body are saying—
Representative Fontaine.
I yield my time, Mr. Speaker.
So ordered.
Some in this body are saying, not to worry, evade your taxes. I'll give you a scheme whereby you don't have to pay them. Well, if
Point of
you're a
order, Mr.
homeowner,
Speaker.
Representative Oshiro.
I've been letting this go on, but it is improper under Masons as well as our rules to misalign anyone's motives. You can talk about the bill, you can talk about its consequences, but you cannot talk about members and their motives.
So ordered. Please
So-
confine your comments to the bill, please.
okay, let me just continue on with this whole scenario. Mr. Speaker, when we take a look at trying to pull together an economic recovery, we turn to the construction industry to say that you're one of the most important areas. Military is too, but that spending is out of our control. Contractors are not out of our control. They're the ones that if you're a homeowner or if you're hoping to be a homeowner and you want to remodel a house, you have a contractor come to you and say, well, I've got this scheme where you're going to have to pay the subs directly and have a separate contract with them. You're going to go, what are you talking about? What's going on here? What's happening? And most of the contractors that I personally know wouldn't do that kind of questionable arrangement because it is tax evasion. No matter how you structure it or what you say, it's tax evasion. So we're taking a step today, and I hope those of you that are voting for this bill recognize what you are doing to an industry that is so important to our recovery. We don't hit that industry with a 300 to 400% tax increase. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much.